Hey, it's Matthew Barrett from the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast. Today on the show, Stefania Bell, Field Yates, and I talk about that crazy Monday Night Football game. How much can you trust Russell Wilson going forward? What happened to that running game? Plus, waiver wire pickups and all the injury updates you need.
Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined on the couch today by Craig Burley, Ali Moreno, and we welcome back John Champion.
Wow.
What a moment. Now,
Goodness.
in the past, we haven't been very nice to International Week.
Or John Champion.
Or John Champion, indeed. However, there are some cracking matches coming up over the next few days, arguably none bigger than Brazil against Argentina in CONMEBOL. And, of course, that table has changed somewhat without teams even playing. Bolivia fielding that ineligible player means that points went the way of other teams, and Argentina have dropped out of the automatic playoff zones and indeed out of the playoff match. So it really is a crucial game for Argentina away to Brazil. Lionel Messi, though, will feature, and we know how key he has been in the past. Just take a look at this qualifying. With him, 100% record. Without him, just one win in 7. And we know for sure that he will be in Brazil because he flew on Neymar's private jet.
Okay.
Along with Mascherano.
Convenient.
Yeah, indeed.
Hell, you know, I've got a private jet and you haven't. By the way, tell me what goals against
Did he
means.
make him sit by the toilet?
Tell me what the goals against column means when Messi's not playing. Does he defend?
Well, I think it just encapsulates how he's important to the whole team.
It's not a jot of a difference, really.
I didn't write that screen, and I
No,
don't
but
think
you're
that's really the
taking
big
full
takeaway.
responsibility
I don't
for
think
it.
that is really the big takeaway here. The takeaway is, of course, that Messi is
I'm
back
sorry for
in
looking
a
at the
game that
graphic
Argentina.
and-
Be quiet. That Argentina need to win. They need to get something from, but they go into this match as underdogs.
Yes, they do. And part of the reason is because under Edgardo El Patón Bauza, there hasn't been an idea of what the identity of this team is.
Yep.
It doesn't look as if they're tactically disciplined or aware of what is it that they're supposed to be doing. The roles within the team are not quite clear. And that was even more apparent when Messi wasn't there. Because everybody was looking at each other and said, well, hold on a second. Who's going to create the chances? Who's going to score the big goals? Everybody's looking around. Messi's not there. Messi's back.
Yep.
Clearly now that makes Lionel Messi, once again, the key to everything that Argentina does. They are Messi dependent, and you would expect them to be. The problem is that you're going to play at Belo Horizonte against a team in Brazil, confident now, Neymar playing well, Tite actually giving this team organization in the back line, and you feel, as Brazil, definitely the favorites coming in.
You wonder how Argentina, with the squad they've got, get in the position.
Yeah,
what
it's
they are.
incredible.
I mean, there's no...
I think it's the goals against that have really been the problem.
Sorry? I think that qualifying's tough down in South America. You look at that compared to European qualification or the CONMEBOL.
But England wouldn't get through, I don't think. If they're in
it's
CONMEBOL.
just horrendous. So, what I would say with the Argentinian supporters, the ones that get on Messi's back, really, I think I've got to have a reality check here. Yeah, he might not do things at times that Maradona did for him, but he's just a magical little player. And he's going to have bad games now and again, but you know, if you're going to keep harping on about Messi doesn't do this and Messi doesn't do that, without him, as that graphic showed, apart from the goals against, they're a much inferior side.
John, who have you got in this race?
In this race, Brazil, but I do feel that at some point it's going to click for Argentina. There's too much talent in that squad for them to remain sixth in that qualifying process.
Yep.
8 games to go. The other intriguing part of this, I mean, Brazil have got a virtually unblemished record, as we saw in home World Cup qualifiers. This is the first time they've played in Belo Horizonte since the World Cup semi-final when they shipped 7 against
7-1 against Germany?
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't pretty. That wasn't pretty. But you look at Brazil, and what's been surprising is that the key to their success hasn't been because, okay, Neymar is scoring goals. You expect that to happen. That Coutinho's been good. Okay, you expect that to happen. Their successes come from the fact that they are now organized defensively in a way that they weren't before. You would have expected to be the case with Dunga. It wasn't. And now there's a different level of confidence with this Brazilian team. And perhaps they have that sort of confidence that every time that somebody went to play at Brazil, you knew that you weren't getting anything out of that. Here's the other thing for Argentina. Then they go home and play against Colombia. They don't get anything against Brazil. Now, all of a sudden, you start counting points.
Is Demichelis playing?
Oh, my goodness. I certainly hope not. If that's the case, turn it off. Let's go
He's not in
home.
the squad, is he?
He is.
Of course.
What's the front line going to be for Argentina? I mean, I presume they've got the choice of Higuain,
Yep. Messi,
Aguero, and then
Dybala.
Messi floating around. I mean, Dybala.
Yeah.
Dybala's injured.
He's been injured for Juve. So, but I mean, that's frightening. So you think about it, there shouldn't be an issue at that end of the pitch. Clearly, the problems are lying elsewhere.
There is just quality all over the pitch when you take a look at these two squads. The same, I don't think, could be said of the next game that we're going to be focusing on. England against Scotland.
Well, is all that good?
World Cup qualifying. This is how it stands in Group F. England currently top of this. We talk about how can you compare this group to CONMEBOL, for example? Lithuania, Slovenia, Scotland, Slovakia, and Malta. Craig, this of course is a hot potato for you. You played for Scotland up against England in the past. How do you feel going into this game?
What do you mean? How do I feel?
Are you excited by it? Are you looking forward to it?
I don't view a game as a supporter. I view it as a broadcaster.
Right. So as a broadcaster,
I don't sit here with my Scottish tartan goggles on. You know, I can see the bigger picture. If England
This could take a while. By the way, this could take a while.
Goggles. If England can't beat this Scottish side, then they've got big problems, huge problems. Because this is a Scotland squad that is so inept, that is so poor in quality, that is a manager who is getting smashed by the Scottish media for his comments and his results. They've got injuries, they've got lacking in confidence, they're struggling in the group, and they're at Wembley, right? If England can't beat this Scotland team, there's no way Gareth Southgate's going to get that job. Not a chance.
Now, traditionally, this is a big game because of the proximity of England and Scotland.
It's a big game if you're in England or Scotland.
Yes.
Yes, let me tell you, yes.
I'm not convinced that they're talking about it in the streets of Borneo, for example.
Or Venezuela,
Right.
for that matter.
But are you looking forward to it?
As much as any other
Oh, my
game.
crikey,
But I have to say, it doesn't have the cachet that it used to have.
No.
It doesn't. 30 years ago, when you had great Scottish players and the sides were more on a par, and Scotland, our lovely Scottish cousins, would come and rearrange the goalposts at Wembley on an annual basis, it was something. But now, it's not out of the ordinary.
I mean, if you go back before I was playing, you've got the Dalglishes and the Jordans and all these great players as soon as... And
Stevie Nicol.
England had all these stars. What was Stevie Nicol was part of it at some point. And then even in the 90s when I was playing England with the Gascoignes and all that, I mean, you look at it now. I mean, England at least have got some players with potential at their club. It's not a great team, but you look at the Scottish national team, and I'm afraid, you know, unless you've got those goggles on and you can't see it, you can't see the wood for the trees. It's a poor sight.
Okay.
You're also living in an era now where the Premier League dominates to such a degree that something like England and Scotland comes along, and people are saying, "Oh no Premier League this week." Not great, it's England, Scotland.
All right, John, I think we've wiped this game off. Let's move on.
Don't
very
watch
quickly.
it then.
Let's go to Columbus, shall we? US taking on Mexico, the first game of the Hex. This is where... Who's more pressure on going into this game, the US or Mexico?
Because of the history in Columbus, the history of success that the United States
Dos
have
a
had
cero.
in Columbus, 2-0 and all this and all that, and there's something that has crept into the minds of the Mexican national team players that they haven't been able to pull out a result in Columbus. It would seem that the pressure would be on Mexico to come to the United States and get a result. I just think that you look at both of these squads, where they are, the development, the players individually and as a group, and it would seem like Mexico would be the favorites coming in. I just think they're a stronger team in terms of their technical ability. But somehow they get to Columbus and they forget how to play the game. Mm-hmm. And they fall into the trap of trying to make this about an athletic competition rather than actually playing the game and possessing the ball and having the U.S. chase all over the place. Pressure is on Mexico to get a result simply because they have it in Columbus.
I think the upside for Klinsmann here is one of the upsides. He's got 2 or 3 of his bigger players playing well. Altidore, in form at the moment, scoring. Pulisic had a really good start to the season. And Fabian Johnson at Mönchengladbach as well. So he's got 3 or 4 that he can rely on. He's then got to put those pegs in the rest of the holes and get that part of the team right.
It's just about building that early momentum, isn't it?
I think it is. I mean, for me, looking at it, I think there's more pressure on the US because they're at home and because of the expectation that's been built by these 4 successive World Cup qualifying victories over Mexico in Columbus. The other thing that I think has been in the US's favour in the past, they've played in some pretty dreadful weather conditions in this game. You know, there was the famous occasion where the Mexicans stayed in the dressing room, didn't even come and warm up before the match. Well, that's
John's been doing some research, everyone.
You know, short of taking the game to altitude.
Comes unprepared. There's altitude, tick.
That's YouTube for you. That's YouTube for you.
Plenty, of course, for that game coming up over the next couple of days. But coming up after the break, we'll be asking the boys if they now change their original top 4 picks to include the likes of Chelsea and Liverpool after their impressive start to the season. Welcome back. Just a reminder, this was our original picks at the start of the season as to who would finish top 4. I went United. City
Did you go United because of Mourinho?
Yeah,
because you were hard on them last year.
Zlatan and Pogba.
Oh, yeah, that worked out.
Zlatan, mid-30s, yeah.
All right, okay.
Smooth.
So this is how the Premier League stands now. Just a reminder, Liverpool top, Chelsea, City, Arsenal, Spurs and United, the top 6. So here are the revised top 4 picks. John Champion has joined in the fun as well. Now, observant people will notice that we've all got the same 4 teams, but in somewhat different order. Everyone going for City apart from myself, going for Liverpool. And then it's kind of on from there. No one had Liverpool in their top 4 originally.
Well, I was teetering with it.
No one had Liverpool in the top 4 originally. Not now.
No, I'm serious. I had them in Chelsea, but I opted for... No, anyway, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. You opted for them. Where should we start? Should we start with Liverpool?
Well, you want to start with Liverpool, so we'll start with Liverpool.
Well, I think the fact that no one had them in, I think they're going to win it.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, yes, I just said, did you not see the graphic, John?
No, have you not seen their defence?
It doesn't matter.
Whoa.
Doesn't matter. When you're scoring the amount of goals, how many chances did they have against Watford?
Yeah, but against Watford. But when they play the decent sides, which are the games that ultimately decide the title...
Arsenal?
Yes.
How do they get on against them?
Yeah, OK, all right.
Yeah.
You make one example.
Spurs? How was their defence against Spurs?
No, you do a mini-league table at the end of the season.
How did they play against Chelsea recently? No, they should have beat Man United.
Well, yeah, exactly. They've played all their big away games already. They haven't got European football to worry about. They don't have a talisman like a Daniel Sturridge that you have to keep fit. Everyone's scoring goals.
Yes, but they have got centre-backs like Lovren and Klavan.
Yes.
I think Matip's done quite well.
Yeah, Matip's been a good addition.
They haven't got a proper left-back. You know, Milner's having to fill in.
But he's doing the job.
He's doing a job, but you can't expect him to do a job over 38 seasons.
Why not? If he's done it this far.
No, I don't think you can.
Why?
Something will happen. Something will happen
to you. I'll tell you what happened. Firmino and Coutinho, we talked about it yesterday, will be playing for Brazil.
Yes.
And travelling.
Well, they were doing that anyway.
Mane, well, they'll be doing it even more. Mane will be
There's
playing...
not more international matches.
Mane will be playing in the African Cup of Nations.
Matip as well, I think.
So all of a sudden you're taking 2 or 3 key players out. Before you start talking about injuries, I think that will take its toll. I mean, top 4, but they're not going to win the league.
So remind me of your order. You had City. Who did you have second?
I had City and Arsenal, because that's who I had.
Why have you got Arsenal finishing above Chelsea and Liverpool, for example?
Well, I think Arsenal do it every year, and Arsenal were second last year. Chelsea were 10th, and Liverpool were, what were they, 5th, 6th?
No, below that, 8th.
No, below that, because they weren't Europa League.
So that's why I've got them above those.
But this is it's a new season, isn't it?
Yes.
Last season doesn't count. You don't have points carrying over.
No. And for the reasons I mentioned about Liverpool, we've got players going away.
Right.
We've got issues defensively, and that's going to be a huge step to go from 8th to winning the league. And I think Arsenal will be second, because I think that's where they're strong enough to be second. I don't think they're as strong as City. And then I've got Liverpool in 3rd, and I've got Chelsea in 4th, which I'm doubting at the moment.
You want to put them higher?
I'm just saying I'm doubting it.
Okay.
Or out of the top 4?
No. Maybe a bit. Liverpool and Chelsea.
Liverpool and Chelsea you're 2 down.
I think Arsenal finished second. Where have you've got Liverpool
I got Arsenal in 4th, Liverpool jumping all the way to 2nd, and Chelsea in 3rd with Manchester City up top. The reason I have Liverpool taking that jump is because, oh, by the way, they are the most exciting and entertaining team to watch in England right now. And Chelsea, they've had a good performance over the last few games over Antonio Conte. He seems to know what this team is all about now, and there seems to be good communication. And there will be a jump for Chelsea, but not enough to make themselves into the top 2.
You know, Man United fans watching this will be scathing.
Oh, well.
Absolutely.
I don't think they'll be scathing. They won't be surprised,
they will, because most of them can't see common sense.
They've seen
unless we've got those goggles on. But beating Swansea was great, but Swansea were abject at best. But I just think there's too many problems there with the coach and the players, that these teams are more dynamic.
Now, what about Spurs?
Well, I wouldn't rule Spurs out of it.
Well, you have.
No, I haven't ruled them out.
Well, they're not in your top four. They are ruled out.
According to the graphic, you ruled them out.
You can't say they're not ruled
It's
out.
not necessarily a definitive graphic, it's just a basis for negotiation at this stage.
Basis for negotiation.
Are they not another
I
team
want you to be
relying
my
on Harry
agent.
Kane?
Yes, they are.
And
Yeah.
that was a problem for them when Kane was out.
And also, I think they're relying on Alderweireld because they've looked nowhere near as solid defensively whilst he's been out injured the last few
Plus,
weeks.
they got Champions League.
They have got
which
Champions
has proved
League.
to be an issue
well,
for
and,
them.
it's costing them in the Champions League rather more than it is in the Premier League at the moment.
Yes, that is very true.
And they may not have Champions League for long.
No, but then they might get
have
Europa
Europa League.
Well, Spurs fans will point out they're unbeaten in the Premier League. But they're picking up too many draws at the moment. I mean, a draw at Arsenal's, that's not a bad result.
No, that's true. But Bournemouth, West Brom.
Bournemouth, West Brom is a problem for them. They have got some good attacking players, but I just think that lack of depth. Vincent Janssen, if he's replacing Harry Kane, hasn't shown yet that he's able to do that. And that's why Son had to play up front at times. So, no, I'm not having them in the top four.
And I think the reason that we have Manchester City, this part of the couch has Manchester City winning, is because we probably all feel that at their best, Manchester City has the highest ceiling of all those other teams.
I think so, but the rider to that is if they go really deep into the Champions League and they're up against, say, a Chelsea side who become relentless under Conte. Now he's got his favoured three at the back.
Or a Liverpool side.
No, if Chelsea do play a real, consistent threat, Liverpool back in sort of third or fourth place, Dan.
I didn't know you hated Liverpool like this.
No, I do hate Liverpool.
Well, that's an old story.
For the record.
I thought you were supposed to be objective as a
for the record,
commentator.
I think potentially this Liverpool side could be better than the one that nearly won the league. I just think that
without Suarez.
without the superstar.
You can't then try and give them a compliment after you've completely written off their chances. You can't pat them on the head. Oh, you're much better.
I think if you're looking at the strongest team in England, I don't think there's another. One way I would look at it is I don't think, even though Barcelona were not great, a lot of that can be attributed to City played well, but I don't think there's another team that we're talking about here that could have taken Barcelona on like how City did.
Yeah.
I think some of them may have got a result by sitting in
and
maybe hitting on the counter, but I don't think there's another team that could have turned it on that night like Man City out of that top four we're talking about.
But 3 days later, they're held at home by Middlesbrough. So therein lies
that's
the
the
question.
intensity of the Premier League. Not.
Plus, then I think you can throw an Anfield in as well as a fact.
You're obviously desperate to throw Anfield and Liverpool and things like that in. And that's marvellous for you, and hopefully it will happen for your sake.
Well, I haven't got any money on it, John.
I think of your mental well-being, Dan, because clearly you need it.
But you go to these grounds, John, when you're back in England, you're doing the
You get
commentaries,
abused.
and you go and fraternise with the managers, and you have coffees and
Look
shake
at the
hands.
disdain dripping from it.
That's a backhanded compliment there.
Please, can I have the starting 11?
Have you got the teams? I'll give them in 5 minutes. Get lost. Klopp has made a huge difference there, hasn't he? I mean, that feel-good factor at Liverpool.
He's just got charisma.
Correct.
Charisma. He's someone that he unifies the club. He's this sort of guy when he walks in the room, there is a sort of electricity. He has a presence.
Yeah, it's kind of the anti-Burley, isn't it?
Hey, baseball fans, I'm Buster Olney, and on the latest Baseball Tonight podcast, we put a ribbon on the Chicago Cubs championship, and Jason Stark and Jerry Krasnick look ahead to what's going to be a very active offseason.
The dream team of John Champion and Craig Burley will be calling France against Sweden on Friday. The coverage of that match starts at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN 2. Now, of course, John, you were calling the LA Galaxy game in Denver, as were you, Ali.
Yeah. It was at altitude.
It was at altitude. You mentioned that a couple of times. We talked about this yesterday. LA Galaxy were very bad.
Yes.
Ali, is this kind of a turning point in this super franchise?
It may just be the end of an era for the LA Galaxy, and that we looked at a team in that second leg against Colorado that was old, and they had no reaction, and there was very little talent that was displayed on the field. And it's hard for me, having been involved with the MLS for so long, to say that this was a team in the LA Galaxy that was lacking talent, and it was very clear. And when it came to pushing through and showing a little bit of toughness in an environment in which they were pushed by the Colorado Rapids, they got disinterested. They did not answer the call. And Bruce Arena has to make a lot of big decisions, including himself. What happens with Bruce Arena? Does he stay with the LA Galaxy, or does he say, you know what, I don't like the core group that I have available right now, I may just walk away? If that's the case, then that changes things in terms of what the decision-making going forward. But Gerard, gone. Robbie Keane, gone. Landon Donovan, you didn't bring him to lose in the Western Conference semifinals, so he gone too. So after that, you start talking about big names that are no longer with the LA Galaxy. The reality for the Galaxy going forward, it may be very different.
It just tells you how bad they have become. And by the way, we shouldn't feel sorry for LA Galaxy because they've got the rub of the green from certain people. With the DPs coming in, all the big players have generally gone to California. It's the nicest place to live and one of the most successful clubs. But when you, with all respect to Landon Donovan, and I respect him from his playing career, but once you retire and start coming back and you're moving like that, then surely your manager must see it, but you must see it yourself. And he couldn't move. He could not move. Steven Gerrard will note himself. He's been too good a player. He's been a world-class midfielder. Does he want to be coming off the bench for the Galaxy? No, he doesn't. And I don't watch anywhere near as much MLS as Ali and other guys. But I'm telling you, the shock that I've seen from when I first came here 3 years ago to what this LA team was, to what I witnessed, and especially in that first 45 minutes when I was watching the guys, they were absolutely a very poor side in comparison.
Kind of inevitable, wasn't it? When you look at the average age that they were going to put
surely you've got to see that, though.
This sort of performance, you've got to preempt it.
Yes.
Well, the average age, you mentioned it, was 31. Now, to put that in some sort of context, if you look at a good European side considered to be up and coming, take a Tottenham, for example, average age just under 24. So they had half of their squad were 33 or over on Sunday, and that's not sustainable going forward.
We mentioned some of the big names. It's very difficult to see any of them apart from Giovanni there at the start of next season. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think you stay with Giovanni Dos Santos, and then after that, all those other big names are gone. But the success of the LA Galaxy in the past, while they've had the big name, has been in building a core group that you can then sort of, in some ways, carry that big name, because that big name sometimes doesn't show up. Sometimes that big name, Giovanni Dos Santos, goes partying a little bit, and maybe you need somebody else to carry you through the regular season. Well, that core group isn't quite there for the LA Galaxy. That core group is also aging, and that's the point where there's got to be a new generation of players for the LA Galaxy, and we just don't see it right now. So it's going to be Yassi Sardes, Giovanni Dos Santos, and then after that, it gets pretty uneven for the LA Galaxy.
It's a shame for the Galaxy fans, actually, in certain ways with Steven Gerrard. I mean, Robbie Keane's done a magnificent job there. A great player. Steven Gerrard, at some point of his career, could have went and played and signed for Real Madrid or any team like that, Chelsea. They were all after him. I mean, he was one of the best. And they've just not seen that side of him because he just can't quite do it anymore. So they've certainly not seen the best of him. But in terms of Robbie Keane, he's been good value for money.
Yeah, Robbie Keane's been one of the best players I think MLS has ever seen. Also one of the best players is Giovinco. Now, the Italian coach, Gianpiero Ventura, was asked about the possibility of Giovinco being called back up into the Italian squad. This is what he had to say. Giovinco is a different story. I've done everything to help him. But the reality is that he plays in a league that doesn't count for much. And the number of goals he scores is less important because, goes on to say, with the quality he has got, he is bound to make a difference in that league. The problem is that if you play in that type of league and you get used to playing in that type of league, it becomes a problem of mentality.
Well, I don't think the Italian national team are that good. I mean, as you well know, I'm certainly not an apologist for Major League Soccer. I'll criticise it like I criticise any other league. I don't care if people get upset. But I think he's playing well enough. Yeah. And I think he's a good enough player. And I think the Italian national team is at a place where it hasn't got the Ravanellis, the Viallis, and all these players that it's had before. And I think that's a nonsense statement. I really do.
It ones that it comes from, I think, in some regards, of very dismissive and ignorance, of not understanding the realities of Major League Soccer. Now, Giovinco, playing the way that he has, regardless of whether he was playing here, there, or anywhere, that sort of level of play, I think, warrants a call into the national team. Perhaps what Ventura is getting to is the fact that when he was in Italy, he was a French player at Juventus. Yeah. And maybe that's the image that you have of Giovinco. But maybe there's a case to be made for Giovinco having evolved as a player since those days in Juventus.
For more on this, Gab Marcotti explains... he's had his haircut over on the website. Be sure to check it out. After the break, with Liverpool and Chelsea doing so well, have the boys now changed their original top 4 picks?
football lives here. It's a huge showdown in the Pac-12 Saturday night. USC, winners of 5 straight, heads to Seattle to face undefeated Washington.
Play 10, touchdown USC. 72 yards, the big play strike.
The Huskies are desperate to prove themselves, and a win against USC will do just that. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
Off the back of a tweet we had on Sunday, we asked both Stevie and Craig for their top 5 Premier League players, and the two Scots agreed. Aguero, De Bruyne, Hazard, Sanchez and Coutinho. So it'd be rude, Ali Moreno and John Champion, not to ask you for your definitive top 5 list, and it's slightly different.
Well, it would be disappointing of us, I think. I don't want to speak for you, Ali, but it would be disappointing to agree entirely with Craig and Steve Nicol. So I've decided that we need a defender in that list, and I've gone for Shkodran Mustafi, only because...
You like saying Squadron?
Well, I don't particularly like saying Squadron. It's quite difficult. But I just think he's made such a difference to Arsenal. I think he could be the difference between them being also rans and actually in contention most of the way through the season for the title. Because he's achieved the near impossible.
There's a graphic in our show somewhere. You've got them third.
Yes, well, it might be on goal difference, Craig. Who knows?
Sorry. So, Ali, you've got De Bruyne, Tom.
Yes, I do.
Ahead of Aguero?
Right now, yes. I don't think that De Bruyne is a better player than Aguero, but right now I think Kevin De Bruyne is the most important player for Manchester City. I also have Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil because if Arsenal is going to make the run that they think they're good enough to make, then Mesut Ozil must maintain the level that he had against Ludogorets, not what he had against Spurs over the weekend. And David De Gea, I have to include him because year after year, he seems to be MVP for Manchester United and continues to be the best goalkeeper in the Premier League.
But that's a big argument about Mesut Ozil, and the big discussion is that he is great against Ludogorets.
Yeah.
But I want him to be great against the Barcelonas and the Tottenhams and the big teams. No?
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Brilliant.
I also think that, yes, Eden Hazard perhaps deserves a place in that top 5, but maybe Mesut Ozil, I think his ceiling may just be higher with Arsenal.
And my reservation with Hazard, I put him in there, but the way he went missing last year, I find it hard to back him again.
We're not basing it on last year, John.
Right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Welcome to Extra Time. Right then, gentlemen. First...
All right, let's hurry up. We've got to go and vote.
OK.
Not. We can't vote. Not allowed.
I can. I did.
He's voted. Right. Hopefully he's done the right thing.
We are not getting involved with this.
No.
There are so many other programmes people could watch. Who is the best striker in the world right now?
Luis Suarez.
Luis Suarez.
That was a guess.
Well, I don't think there's a right answer.
Yeah.
I don't have a time.
If we consider Lionel Messi a striker, then of course Messi. Yeah. I don't know, striker Luis Suarez.
You going for a clean sweep? You've got to go somewhere Premier League, haven't you?
Do I?
Your Premier League ways.
Well, that's not very nice, is it?
No.
I don't know.
See, as a sort of one-trick pony, and you...
well, John, you know him too well. You've been watching the show.
Haven't you just been a commentator for 40 years?
40 years?
Oh, sorry, John.
This is going to disintegrate rapidly.
An old one-trick pony.
Old one-trick pony.
Old one-trick.
Do you remember the old days? Never have commentators in Vision. Now look, we're all over the place.
In answer to your question, well, I won't disappoint you then in that case.
You're right.
No, I'm desperate to say something different, but I can't really
just
go...
All right, I'll tell you what, Victor and Ichibi. There you go.
No, I'm going to go... I'd have to go Suarez.
You can go Suarez, that's all right, you don't have to apologise.
You can go Salomon Rondon if you want.
Salomon Rondon?
Yes.
No. If we start talking Tony Pulis, now we're talking.
Oh, my crikey.
No.
Oh, well, let's see.
Mid-table.
Well, so, who would be your pick for Manager of the Month for October?
Well, Antonio Conte's unbeaten.
Conte?
Is Liverpool unbeaten?
Well, they must have been, yeah. It was the Burnley game, wasn't it, in October, wasn't it?
Burnley was September, wasn't it?
There you go. Klopp or Conte?
Well, I'll have to be impartial.
OK.
I think he's somebody else.
John?
For me, Conte.
Did lose against West Ham, though, didn't he?
Yeah, I just think that he's the one that's made the big stride forward in the month. The results generally very good, and he's now found, or rediscovered in his case, a way of playing that really suits his team. And also, having been at Stamford Bridge the day that they marmalised Manchester United.
They did what?
Marmalade.
They did what?
Wow.
It did feel like the turning of a page to a new era.
Man, they did.
Was it geometric perfection?
Hey,
Wow.
Because I've heard that before.
they did what to Manchester United?
Marmalade.
I got to be honest with you. I was not taught that in English as a second.
No.
Is that coming from marmalade?
Yes, it can do.
How
if
do you
want
make
to.
marmalade?
Well, you sort of marmalise oranges and add a bit of sugar, and then that's it, isn't it? So
You must have,
move on.
So, do you have marmalade in Venezuela, Ali?
Well, yes, but I've never been marmalized. I tell you that much.
No, but you might be after this show, the way things are going.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
No, sorry.
Is that a
Goodness
threat?
me. Oh.
Yeah, yes.
Goodness.
well, you two spent the weekend together.
I know, that was enough.
Whatever
Hey,
that
you
was.
should have
In
seen
Denver?
this guy. You should have seen this guy, the Cheesecake Factory. My goodness.
You went to the Cheesecake
We
Factory.
did. In
Well, you
Denver.
don't get to that size eating nuts.
What did you go for?
Well, cheesecake, surprisingly.
Oh, my God. What flavour?
Strawberry. It was Liverpool red. There you are. You'd have liked that.
A
wouldn't you?
Liverpool red. Ali, what did you're on a diet still. Did
So I
you?
went to the low-carb cheesecake with Splenda.
Low carb. Low carb.
Yeah.
Organic. You've gone. You've changed.
Hey, look.
You want to
diet.
put your foot down with a firm hand at home and start eating some rubbish. Honestly, low carb cheesecake.
Finally.
Get me a non-alcoholic beer, will you?
You promise this is finally.
Pardon?
You promise
I
this
don't-
is finally.
I don't know. What cheesecake do you go for?
Well, I wasn't at the Cheesecake Factory, was I? How did I know that wasn't in Denver?
Do you have a go-to cheesecake?
Yeah, cheesecake. Plain.
Plain
Yeah,
cheesecake.
yeah, it would
Don't
be
want any of that rubbish on it.
You don't get a body like this eating rubbish.
Finally, can Brazil re-emerge as football's powerhouse with the scintillating form of Coutinho and Firmino together with Neymar?
You know when Brazil was heavily criticized, and rightfully so, after losing 7-1 at home.
Yes.
They still lost at the semifinals of the World Cup. So it's not like Brazil is too far off from regaining their standard. But their standard is much higher than everybody else's.
When did they last win the World Cup? I'm serious.
2002.
2002. Because the European teams have kind of dominated recently, have they not?
Yeah, I just think
Italy, was it Italy 2006?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then Spain?
Yes.
And Germany?
Yes.
Correct.
I just think we have a slightly skewed view of Brazil's place in the current scheme of things because their history is so garlanded. You know,
Don't upset them.
That's so what?
garlanded.
Oh.
Is that the wrong word?
is-
They've been quite good in the past.
Better.
Dan, is that
Good.
better?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, they used to be good.
Right.
Then they weren't very good.
Yes.
Then they got quite good again, but never quite as good as they were before.
Right.
Okay, and I
Have
don't
they marmalized anybody?
not for a long
Got
time.
marmalised in the 7-1.
John, I'm really sorry about this. It's not like the old days when I understood.
No.
You've got to explain.
Yeah, yeah.
That's very good.
Professional.
ESPN FC will be back.
Did we answer the question, by the way?
I
Fortunately
can't
for
even
us,
remember what the
educated
question was.
people-
I got distracted by garden. I can't even say it.
Right, come on, the creche is closed. Come on.
All right, that's it. ESPN FC returns tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN News.
The North Carolina Tar Heels head to Durham to face their fiercest rivals, the Duke Blue Devils. Touchdown! Coverage begins Thursday at 6:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Presented by Dr. Pepper.